Okay, so first of all, what a great question. The mental aspect of performance has always been something that I've struggled with a lot. And I've definitely tried to spend years working through what sort of seems to work the best for me and my strategies that I try and use going into competitions. When I was younger, I used to get so anxious prior to any games, races, whatever it may be, to the point where I would just throw up all the time. And looking back, one of the biggest reasons for that was the gap that I had between the expectations that I put on myself and the actual preparation that I had done, as well as the actual realism as to where my ability was in that moment. And so if your expectations are higher than your preparation, if your expectations are higher than where you realistically are right now, your confidence isn't going to be there. And internally, subconsciously, your body, your brain is going to know that you're bold. And that's when some of that anxiety starts to slowly seep in and start to build up. The confidence isn't something that you necessarily can just tell yourself. It's something that you have to earn through preparation. And so over time, along with this idea of trying to earn some of that confidence through preparation, I also realized that I was spending way too much time worrying about what other people thought of me. And the focus that I had going into races, competition was more external, focused on the social aspect rather than my actual performance itself, which sort of leads into my next point. The preparation that you put in also has to align with the internal control that you have over your performance. A lot of the external things that happen around competition are just things that are out of your control. The things that are going to make you faster are focusing on the things that you do have control over. And so heading into a race, what you can have control over is, do you have a race plan? And before executing that race plan, do you have a warm-up plan? For myself, heading into this past weekend, racing the single for the very first time, there's a lot of technique stuff that I got to work on. And I was working all the way back into breaking up all the little steps that I had to do before the race even started. And one of those things was I had to be able to back myself up into the starting gate. And so something that I was doing before races, a couple weeks prior, is I would literally just practice backing my single. And so come race day, it was something that I didn't necessarily have to think about. I was still struggling to back my single up into the starting gates, but there was a little bit of confidence that I had in the competence of that ability where it wasn't necessarily stressing me out. It was just, okay, I know I can do it. We'll get to it when we get to it. And then from there, have I actually then practiced that start sequence? Do I have a plan for if something's going to go wrong? And have you spent enough time practicing certain tempos or race rates for your actual piece that you're going to go through? All a race is really just another glorified practice where you get to interact with other friends, teammates, competitors, and just have fun together. The adrenaline that comes along with racing and using your competitors as a way to push off of each other and push each other is a way to help get the most out of each other and just build more community. But at the end of the day, in terms of your long-term development, this is just another data point. And so going in with a little bit more of the mindset of, I'm going to do the best I can. This is just another hard practice that I'm going into, can help to soothe a little bit of that mentality, but also just keep you a little bit calmer to execute what you know that you can do. And a good example of extending this idea of rehearsal and coming into competition with a plan would be the 2K on the erg. I think what happens most often with a lot of athletes is during a rowing season, let's say the summer season, we're predominantly on the water a lot, and any sort of additional erg session that you're doing is probably going to be a little bit more steady state based. And so you'll end up going months without really even touching an erg and doing interval pieces. And then when the fall comes and you have testing camps for your team and you're expected to pull 2K, a lot of that anxiety is probably going to be even more amplified because you haven't spent time and practice and preparation working around what splits you think or plan to hold for that 2K. Your fitness has probably changed, your abilities changed, and going into something like that without necessarily a plan is probably going to psych yourself out. And the uncertainty of not knowing exactly what you're going to pull or what splits you're going to be around is what's going to start creating that doubt. And so the more specific you are in your preparation, the less room there is for fear. I still get nervous before races, especially 2Ks, but that sort of physiological response you get from that stress, that sort of pit in your stomach feeling that you get, is actually the same sort of sensation you get when you're excited. And so something that I've tried to do over the last few years is try and switch my mindset into trying to tell myself, well, I'm actually just more excited rather than stressed. I'm going into a fun environment with my teammates for an opportunity to race, have fun, and just push myself. And so for me personally, my goal going forward isn't to eliminate nerves. Think about nerves as a blessing. It means that you care about something, you care about performance. And in most cases, your nerves and anxiety can actually be used as your secret weapon to maybe get a little bit more edge out of something. But I think the biggest thing going into a race is just trusting your preparation, breaking down your race into as many actionable steps as you can, and just making sure that you spend enough time practicing those. But yeah, hopefully this video helps. If there was anything that I skipped over or didn't quite touch on, or maybe you wanted to hear a little bit more about, just leave a comment down below and I will be sure to film another response video. And I'll see you guys in the next one.